Good morning, everyone. The name is Makawe Katide from PKUnshackled. Thank you for joining us. It's a beautiful day out there. Not. It's very cold for a summer day. But here we are. We carry on. Now, today I'm joined by a very special guest. And I mean special because you see somebody from a distance and you hear all the powerful stuff they say, and you read about the books, and then you say, one day I would like to meet that man. But thankfully for technology, today we have Doctor. By the way, I keep referring to you as Charley Pietersen, and I
How are you?
apologize.
Don't worry, don't worry,
You
don't worry.
you are Doctor. You understand? How are you, sir?
I'm good, and you, Mr. Katide. I'm very well, and I'm honored to be on your show. I've also looked at a lot of your clips. I can see you guys can go very, very deep into issues, and I like that.
Yeah, no. A lot of people were asking me why do you do this show? And I
Mm,
said, there's people who are blessed with the talent of the pulpit,
yeah,
and there's great orators out there.
yeah,
I'm not one of those people. I
mm,
am this person. We sit
yeah,
and we talk, and
yeah,
then hopefully somebody out there will watch the clip, and from watching the clip they will grow, they will
yes,
find the truth, they will feel empowered.
mm,
And most importantly, I'm on this journey. So I'm a man, obviously. i'm
yeah,
a
yeah,
i'm a father.
yes,
I'm a husband,
mm,
and it's a very lonely journey.
big
it's
time.
it's very lonely. We sit
Mm,
and talk and say, um men must be brave, men must be, the rocks of the father. But
mm.
boss, I sit there by
They must
myself.
be real men. They must be real men because I was asking somebody yesterday, what is the definition of a real man? I'm still looking for something like that because we are all men with our faults, mistakes, and all those things.
Now the thing is, I mean, I'm a born again Christian. I believe
Mm.
in God,
Same
Holy
here.
Spirit, Jesus, what.
Amen. Same here with me.
But I have questions. I always
Mm.
have questions.
Mm.
So one of the questions that okay, maybe before we start, please spend 5 minutes telling our viewers out there who Charley Pietersen is, or Dr. Charley Pietersen.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I was born in the Free State and in Smithfield some years ago, next to Lesotho, next to Bloemfontein, and next to that side of the Eastern Cape. So I grew up there, raised by a single mother. My father decided, to like they say in Afrikaans, we went and buy some soap when when I was a baby. So he just left, when he heard that there's a baby, he said, "Hey, let me go buy soap," and he left. And I was raised by a very strong Christian single mother. My mother, Osdidi, may her beautiful soul rest in peace. And in the streets of Danyane, Mufulatsepe, where I grew up, most of the kids, you know, were also fatherless. I realized now after I've written the book that actually 80% of us there in that town of us, it was a very small town, a town I think of more than 4,000 people. So 80% of the boys that and girls that were running around were fatherless, and it was only a few households that one can really say, hey, that is a structured household. The principal was married, the pastor was married, the policeman was married, a few in that town. But the rest of us, I haven't seen the fathers. So I realized that actually, this is a big problem. So I grew up there and I later went to Kribing, it's Vepener. It's also a small town now to do my standard six. No, I'm not going to talk about grades here because the grades are for you, younger generation. So I went and did my standard 6 there in Kribing, in Wepener. So also the same, I also picked up the same brokenness there, where guys like myself were survivors, were hustlers at the age of 12. At the age of 13, you were supposed to defend yourself and fight for yourself. And I later moved to Bloemfontein, high school that side. So I completed my high school that side. And I got a bursary to go and study to be a teacher. And I said, hey, because I wanted to be a pastor, Mr. Katide, a pastor or politician. I said two things for me, pastor or politician, because those two roles are the same. And my heroes those time were, Dr. Nelson Mandela, Dr. Ellen Busak, and Terra Lekota, who was a good friend of mine. No matter his political stance, he's a friend. He's a friend, not a politician. So those are the guys that inspired me a lot as a little child growing up without a father. Then I met an old man, Tate Mulimela, the owner of Bloemfontein Celtics Football Club, because I went and worked in the bank that time. So we started to build a relationship, the fatherly relationship that I never had. So I found in this man, then I will ask a certain question, I will get an answer, because growing up without a father, very, very difficult, they will tell you, when you date a girl, if she said she loves you, then you must sleep with her. They never told you about you must use a condom and all those things. That's why fatherlessness is big. Really, because guys didn't know, and even the girls, I don't think the girls were informed that time that, what contraception, so what do they call it, and use this and this, and use a condom or use this and this. I think information was not freely given that time. So actually, we were born fatherless, and we created a lot of kids also because lack of experience, lack of knowledge. And from there, I moved in the banking sector. I moved up, without having a degree. I worked myself up because I told myself, with my mother, I said, I want to be the best. I want to be the best in everything that I'm doing. Not to be like my father, because I don't know him. There's no blueprint of him. But I want to be the best of myself. So I became the best in the bank, from teller to regional manager to director in the bank. And I later left the bank and I joined Bloom Celtics as a CEO. So after leaving Bloom Celtic, I joined government. I was there in the office of the premier. And so I've done a lot of things, because I said, I'm not going to stay in one job forever, job for lives. You'll die a policeman, you'll die a nurse, you'll die this. I said, I want to explore life. I want to meet people. So from there, I moved in 2011 after the World Cup, because I was part of the World Cup 2010 also. So I moved to Gauteng in 2011 to help the guys with a BEE deal also that failed, because, this BEE deals, they only want from you. They only want from you. After they receive, they dumped you. So they dumped me and my friend, Given Muchena. And here I was sitting now, but the calling was there to write. So I said, hey, maybe let me use this time to write. So I started my first book, To God Be the Glory. It's a book about my journey with God, since I was 5 years old. So I've realized that at the age of 5 already, God was my father. The father that I never had, age 5, age 7, and all those things. So it's a powerful book for everyone to read. To God be the glory. And I also wrote the book of Ndate Mulimela, the owner of Celtics. I have seen it all because I spent 30 years with him. Even his children know that I know their father more than they know their father, because he opened up to me a lot of secrets that I'm taking to my grave also. He left, but I'm taking it also.
Hopefully not stuff that's too scary.
No.
Okay.
Those ones, we put it one side, Mr. Katide. Then from there, it was on a Father's Day, in 2015. I was sitting in church, And you know, Father's Day, the tradition is that they will tell you anyone of their father here in church, can you please stand up? And we were always every Father's Day, you'll be the last to stand up. You know, the one that grew up without a father. It shows you that even rejection is in church. You know, they cater for the haves and not for the
No,
have-nots.
we'll get to the church part. Continue
No,
with the
I'm just
story.
taking you through my journey. So
Okay,
while
okay,
I
okay.
was while I was sitting there, a voice came up and said, "You know what? I want you to write this book, Growing Up Without a Father, and explain to people and to the nation the hand of God in your life and the sufferings of children growing up without a father, especially when you don't have a structure, a family structure. Maybe the mom is there and the mom is not that strong. Then the gangsters will be your family. Prison will be your family. You know, drugs will be your family. Nyaupe will be your family because you are looking for a sense of belonging, identity. So I wrote this book and I said, no, man. The calling came and said, I need to go full time into this, preaching this gospel of fatherlessness. So I started the foundation, Growing Up Without a Father Foundation, and started to go, you know, from province to province, preaching the gospel, and also finding out that a lot of men, especially men, run away from this issue. They don't want to open up. And every second man that I met along the line is fatherless. You know, if we start chatting, they will come to you. They won't come to you in the crowd. They will come after that and they will tell you their story. So I started, and also I picked up in 2019 the issue of the boy child. So all these things that you see about the boy child all over, they copy it from me. I wrote the book Boy Child to Matter because it was a call from the Lord. So suddenly there's a lot of organizations that focusing on the boy child now. But I'm glad because God said we must multiply. And a lot of people have stolen my ideas. They are running with it. I hope they become rich, you know, out of that, because the idea is not to become rich. The idea is to
Your calling.
uplift and heal, you know, the fatherless. So this book, Boy Child to Matter, you know, I've written it for single mothers, for children that grew up without fathers, to try and close the gap. You know, the questions that you wanted to ask a father and he's not there, that's in the book. So that is my journey. So we running this foundation, Mr. Katide, with my wife and a few directors. So we have impacted a lot of people up to date, you know, without any funding from any government institution or anyone, you know, and by the grace of God. But now I'm busy with a documentary on fatherlessness. It will come out in March, where we zoom into this issue of fatherlessness, because sometimes you'll find that the mother will say, no, it's fine for my child to grow up without a father. No, it's not fine. But it is fine when the father passed on and the father is not there. But when the father is still around, it is not fine for that boy because he's sick, his identity, his bloodline, where he comes from. And that's why you'll find most of the time people will say, where's Alankangone? Where's Ala? No, 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 no. Hello, it's a what? He is looking for who he is in the process, because if he is raised like Ntate Jerry Mufeking is a good friend of mine, he thought he was a Mufukeng, but there was the Maheta blood running in him, and he was confused for almost 58 years of his life. You know, if they read, they must read Ntate Jerry's book. He was confused, and his mother only told him when she was 91 years old that actually, you are not from this clan of this family, you are from this family. So that's why his whole thing was twisted, because he didn't know his real identity. That's why most of us are dear Makar. We don't know what's going on. You will go from Sangoma to Sangoma. That Sangoma will not solve the thing that's going on here. You need to find out who are you. That will solve the problem.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up.
Mm.
So one of my questions and one of my the path that I'm following is finding out who I am.
Yes.
Not this person that you see here, but my lineage, my bloodline,
Yes, the
my my
inner, yeah.
my. No, but let's tell the truth. I like telling the truth. So the church, for
Mm,
years,
mm,
they said you when you come to Christ, you're a new creature.
mm,
All things have passed away, whatnot, and people have deliberately, knowing or unknowing, left who they are. You understand?
mm, mm,
Now, one of my questions is, why do we? I mean, you look at Jewish guys. Jewish
mm.
guys, central to their belief is their culture.
Solid. The blessings of their kids, the
Culture,
blessings of the years. Very solid.
yeah. You know,
Very solid.
but we, and
Mm,
I guess that's how the gospel was preached for years and years and years. Is the fact that we say, oh no, leave your Zulu-ness, leave your Sutu-ness, leave your
mm.
San-ness, leave. So just leave. Come to Christ as you
Come to
are,
Christ. Yeah.
and you are a new creature. Even
Mm,
the fatherlessness, you
mm,
know, they say no. Don't worry. When you don't have a father, Christ is now your father.
mm.
And the cushion here was that there's God the Father and
Yeah.
there's Jesus Christ who
Yeah.
happened to be male. So the
Male. Yeah.
comfort was that uh, I don't need to look for my father. I don't need to look for my roots because I've got God the Father and I've got Jesus
Mm.
Christ. But then that caused problems, doctor. It caused
Yes.
very serious problems because
Mm.
you have kids. You
They want
know,
to
you
know.
don't know. Yeah, you don't know
Family
how to
tree.
be,
Family tree.
my friend. You don't know how to be a father. Forget being a husband, but you
Mm.
don't know how to father your kids because
Mm.
there is no blueprint, like you said.
Yes.
There is
Yes.
no reference point.
Mm.
There is
Mm.
no there are no norms. You know, one thing about
Mm.
having a family with a father, there's norms that
So
are in the
you're
family.
operating from a vacuum.
You understand? You know
Yeah.
nothing. You
Mm.
know nothing. But
Mm.
the second part of it, and this is very controversial, and I know people, people say, no, you always see, and I don't see controversy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the fact that in the church,
Mm.
there's fathers,
Mm.
but they're too busy looking at heaven. They want to go to heaven. That's all they want.
The present absent
They're,
father.
yeah, they're there
Mm.
in suits
Mm.
and ties and fancy cars,
Mm.
and they tithe
Mm.
like billionaires.
Mm.
But at home,
They cold. They
at,
not there.
no, they're not there.
Mm.
When
Mm. Yeah.
all they want is to go meet their savior.
Yes.
What do you say about that? It makes me angry. It makes me angry that we are we've and one of the things that I'd like us to talk about is how do we fix it? You know,
Mm.
how do we fix it? Because year in, year out, there's GBV, there's many
Violence
things,
against
and
women and children. Men are
nothing
trash. All
changes.
those organizations that are coming up. I think, Mr. Kadila, the first thing is that, I discovered myself, who am I? Because look, I went and looked up for my father at the age of 21. I met him because there was no peace inside of me. Because when I look around, I see, but this family, this is how a family structure looks. And here is me and my mom. So something is wrong here. Firstly, something is not right here. So I looked at all that norms. I said, no, man, I want to go look up, and I'm not going to fight with the men. I'm just going to find out, where did things go wrong? And actually, who are you and where do you come from? Because those are important things that a boy or a girl needs to know. And even, there was a lady who bought my book, Dineo, 6 years ago. The father of Dineo left the home when Dineo them was 6 years old to live with another lady across the street. And they only connected when Dineo was 31 years old. So this father just left this house, the front door, and move to another house next door, abandon his blood children this side and raise other children on the other side. And while, you know, she will explain to you, Dineo, then there were times where they were hungry and they can smell the food coming from next door, where the father is the provider now, leaving them behind. So for years, and when Dineo was supposed to get married, she also felt that, no, man, I need a blessing of my father. And she came to me and asked me, Ntate Charlie, what must I do now? I say, Dineo, as a Christian, firstly, a child, born again, a believer, we have to forgive one another. So, but you first need to forgive yourself and make peace with yourself, because we started to hate ourselves. That's where self-love comes in. So you blame yourself for a lot of things, you know, in this situation. So we went the journey of Dineo making peace with Dineo, looking Dineo in the mirror and ask, am I ready to face that guy next door? Because I told her, you don't have to face him. But her voice inside said, I must face him. So she made peace with that. And she went to him. And you know what? He became sick. And that wife of 31 years that he moved to kicked him out when he was sick. And now suddenly Bodineo was now the ones nursing him. This is what society is doing. So to solve this is that self-correction. We need to heal, because nobody will heal yourself that day, Kadide. You need to go to God. I know God is there as a mediator for us on earth and a lot of things. Make peace and say, Lord, this is who I am. I come before you with all my faults and everything. Help me and heal me. That is the gap. But on earth, you need a father. Like, you know, I went and looked up for him, and all the questions that I had, I made sure he answered all of them. And when I finished, it's like with an essay. When I finished with him, and I said, no, I'm at peace with myself. I'm forgiving him, and I need to move on with my life, because we sometimes become prisoners of other men. You know, that father of you kept you prisoner for the rest of your life, because you don't have peace of mind. You need to find out, who am I? Who is he? I wonder what if he was here. He don't care sometimes. But on the other side, let's come in for the fathers. Not all the runaway fathers are bad. Others can maybe be that you don't have money. You are not from a certain class. You are not from a certain clan. So they don't approve you this side. And they said, no, you're not going to marry that one. And because maybe you're not employed, you can't pay maintenance, so you're not good enough. You know, I had a discussion yesterday that say fatherhood to me is not about how much money you earn, how much status do you have and everything. Fatherlessness is how much do you care about your kids. You know,
fatherhood.
Yes.
Now, so to interject, let me ask you this question. You have kids, right?
Yes.
What are you doing differently than your father did?
I don't know what he
did.
You see, I'm starting from scratch. I don't have a blueprint, so I'm trying my best to be a father, you know, by reading.
But how do you know? How do you know the best that you're doing is good enough? I'll tell you why I asked that question. We read the Bible, we read books, but then the practical application of the knowledge you pick up goes out the window when your child looks at you in the eye and say, "You're master." You understand? Yeah. And then your human instinct kicks in, and you want to slap this child, but you cannot, because it's against the law and it's not right.
Yeah.
So how do you do it? And I'll tell you another thing. I've decided that I'm going to be a father to my kids based on love.
Yes. I wanted to say that.
This money thing, no. We'll teach them, man. We'll make sure they grow up well, protect them, shelter them, meet all their needs, but all the time they must understand that this person loves us.
Yes, that's key. That's key, Mr. Katide. Because with me was like the biggest mistake also that parents made is overcompensate for things that you never had in the past and said, no, I never had a PlayStation. So if my son wants a PlayStation, I'll buy him 10. I never had a bicycle. If my child wants a bicycle, I'm going to buy my child 10 bicycles. And that is not what life is all about. You know, I've looked at how my mother raised me. You know, from 1 cent, we bought this and this and this. And if there's no money, she will tell you that we'll have to wait. So she raised you by saying that this is how you need to save. This is how you need to, when you meet an elderly person and he's carrying 2 plastics and it's heavy, you need to be the one going to help that person. So those are the values, you know, I've even put it in my other book, Boy Child to Matter, the 11 values that my mother told me of respect, humility, you know, generosity. You can't eat. If you invited a friend to your house, you can't eat if you can't share with your friend. You rather keep it and wait until the friend is gone, or you share with your friend. Small things, you greet, you do this. So you try it, and you know, those are the good things, you know, that you try and inculcate to your kids and say respect, honor. And you find that, but you'll find out along the way, kids will tell you that things were different, you know, during your times. And this is now times, because our kids now, I can actually say it's a headache to raise a kid in this modern society, in this modern time.
Because it's a full-time job.
Yes, with all these influences and everything. And we're failing every day. Mr. Katila, you know, you try your best, you know, you'll see them. I will sit and say, God, where did I go wrong? Because I'll always go back to my man cave with the Lord and ask, Lord, it's 12 o'clock and they are not here at home. And the lockdown said 12 o'clock is 12 o'clock. What if I receive a call from the police that said, no, they are over lockdown and everything? You know, you pray. So to be a parent in this modern time is not an easy task. It's full time. And just imagine now, how does a single mother handle 4 kids, maybe teenagers? Eh? We struggle with ours as married couples.
Yeah, no. It's hard. I always say to my wife that, you know, while the kids are young, I mean, my kids are fairly young. So I say, you know, we must raise them well, and we must love them to the fullest.
Yeah.
If they decide to go on a different path, follow another religion, it's them. But we must have the satisfaction that we've done our best. Our utmost best. Now, another thing of not having a father is sexuality.
Yeah.
And it's a very important thing.
Yeah.
So young girls have some sort of discussion with their mothers when they start puberty, when their bodies are changing. You know, and I guess it's easy for that conversation to happen because there are things happening that are visible that needs immediate attention.
Yeah.
Not with the boy child.
No.
And I guess not having a father or an absent present father or present absent father, you know, it just makes things difficult, you know. And a lot of young boys don't understand what this all means. You know, when you start, you know,
getting hair and the hair,
you wake up in the morning with an erection. You know, my dad.
Wet dreams.
Yeah, wet dreams. My dad told me a story that when he was young, this is in the 70s. So he started having wet dreams and morning erections.
Yeah.
And he went to his pastor or some guy that they in the church.
So your father grew up
He
without
said,
a father.
no, I think he only
Okay,
met
so
his father once.
okay. So that's why he went to the pastor for answers.
Yeah.
All right, all
And the
right.
pastor said, what? Those things. Those things, man. Just pray. So that's the answer. Just pray. You
You're
understand?
growing. How can you pray?
No,
You
no,
must be
no, no,
growing.
but yeah, but because of and the danger, the other danger is there's a lack of male role models, even
Yes.
in the church. There's no person that you look up to and you can say, Babus Banbani,
Yeah. Yeah.
because of fear of victimization.
Yes.
Christians are brilliant at victimizing people. So you speak to Babus Banbani and say, Babus Banbani, this is my body is changing, whatnot. He will go and speak about you. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you understand?
No, it's
Instead of
true.
helping you.
That's why men,
Instead of,
you're right. That's why men are struggling to talk to one another, to trust one another. Because we are the big gossipers. And also maybe you'll come and tell me that you've got a problem, ne? In your marriage, you can't satisfy your wife anymore. I'm the one gonna tell now some
oh,
others. And somebody will suddenly come with flowers to your wife, or they will say, no, you're not buying flowers, you're not romantic. Suddenly he's the one providing the stuff, because there's always something. That's why really it's tough for men. I looked at in my book, I talk about with boys. It's a personal development, where I said, when your voice started to change, this is what's happening. When you started growing hair, started getting what and wet dreams. So I'm trying to explain to the guys things that I never knew. Because you'll go to your friend. Another good story that I want to tell you, which is actually so sad. It's about circumcision. Ne? So this friend of mine was telling me
you
ne,
know
that,
what, my friend? There's another episode that I'm planning about that stuff.
hey, but let me tell you
What
quickly.
happens there? Okay, tell me your story.
Now, this friend of mine said to me, we were sitting there as boys. It's very healthy when your skin is off. Ne? Because when your skin is not off, it's dirty, you don't wash nicely. And he said, no, man, the best way for that skin of you to get off is to sleep with a lot of girls, because every time when you sleep with a girl, it tear a little bit. I thought to myself, man, I said, Heaven, what if it comes to 100 girls and that skin is still there, and maybe that 100 of 60 of them are pregnant? So there was no answer. So that was how you see the lack of having a father, and the lack of having a father figure, a role model that can tell you. So a guy like that is telling you nonsense like that. And a lot of our people believe that. Sleep with a lot of girls. This is what's going to happen.
Oh.
That skin is going to go away.
Yeah,
So,
but and this is what hurts me. And most of us, even that boy, grew up in church,
no, it's a church
or
boy.
some form of church, whether it's Pentecostal or African independent churches or Presbyterian or whoever. Most of us grew up in church, and church taught us some form of discipline and some truth.
Yeah.
But then people will believe that story more than the truth. You understand?
Yeah.
And that's where we lose it. I look at young boys in the township, right? There, when I was growing up, my own father was traveling a lot. Yeah, he was never there. He would go to Kuruman to preach. From Kuruman, he'd go to Plethora, he'd go to Eastern Cape, he'd go to
PK kids.
what you understand. And unfortunately, when he was doing when he was the busiest in his ministry, that's when I needed him.
Yes.
To the
Yes.
world, it was, hey, hallelujah, fire, God,
Yeah.
Jesus,
Yeah.
hey. To me, it was like,
I
okay,
need this man.
you know, and in our churches, they said, you know, yeah, you mustn't date. And I was like, but my white friends at school are dating.
Yeah.
My colored friends at school, at
Yeah.
why me? Because I'm Zulu, I
Mm.
can't date. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a Joe, Satan. And I don't laugh. I even
I
got
know,
kicked out
man.
of the church. No,
Yeah.
you see, now but then, luckily, by the grace of God, a lot of things
Mm.
made sense to me. I've made mistakes. I mean, I
Mm.
was involved in drugs. I was involved
Mm.
in you know, many scary things that a
Because
pastor's child shouldn't do.
you were seeking love, you were seeking affirmation, you were seeking sense of belonging.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, I would chill with gangsters, right?
Mm.
It's a wild story. So these
Mm.
guys would go rob a bank or whatever, come
Mm.
back and put
Mm.
money on the table and say, let's have a party.
Mm.
Now, instead of having that guilt conscious to
Yeah.
say, I should not associate with these people, it was like, no, this is brotherhood. You know, these
Yes, this is
guys,
where you are comfortable in.
yeah, these guys
Mm.
are taking care of me. And you know what? Those guys, as bad as that, they would give you life lessons. Like, hey, I'll tell
No.
when you have
Mm.
kids, you must take care of them. You know,
Yeah.
you understand.
Yeah.
And but from the church, it was silence. You know, it was the expectation was that maybe because Dr. Katide
Mm.
is my father,
Mm.
everything is hunky dory. You
No.
know, but the
No
father
way.
element, and that's when I started realizing that I'm not the only one in this position. A
Mm.
lot of young men in the church. Let
Mm.
me shock you, Dr.
Mm.
Charlie. So most of my friends,
Mm.
I'm 40, I'm turning 42 next year. Most of
Mm.
my friends are divorced, me included,
Mm.
because we got into marriage not
Mm.
knowing what it is.
Yes.
So Christians would say, um, before you get married, you must go for marriage counseling
Yeah.
from the church,
Mm.
from a pastor who's got his own skeletons, and
And
all they
challenge
say to you
and
that,
challenges.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, all they say is, yeah, mawindoda, kumele uthandaze. I know that.
Mm.
Um, kumele, yeah, now, yeah, kumele usebenze embedeni.
Mm.
I know that.
Yeah.
But
But
what
tell me
what is
something
more?
else. Yeah.
What is more? What on top
Mm.
of what you're saying, there will be challenges that are not necessarily addressed in the scripture.
Mm.
For example, if you can't satisfy your wife in
Yeah.
bed, what do you do? What do you, which scripture? Tell me. You're a pastor. Are you a pastor,
Yeah.
by the way? Which
Yeah. I'm
scripture?
ordained. I'm ordained. There's no
Okay.
scripture, but like you,
But
what
it's
I
a
want
very
to
serious
say,
problem.
he won't tell you that there's men's clinic. If it's not in
No.
if it's not in the Bible, there's men's clinic, or
No.
maybe you busy stressing. Because most of
Mm,
this thing has to do with mental health. Because I also touch on mental health in my teachings, that you started to stress, your you're under pressure. So when you're under pressure, the blood flow and all those things are also affecting stamina and all those things. So that's why,
mm,
I was chatting with a young man. I said the fatherlessness actually for me started in the Bible when Abraham and Sarah could not have a child. Ne? Sarah said, no, go sleep with your servant, with my servant, so that we can get a child. So Ishmael was born. So when Ishmael was born, God blessed Sarah now with Isaac. Ne?
Isaac.
Yes. And now what happened when Isaac and Ishmael were playing, Ishmael was teasing Isaac, and the mother couldn't take that. She said, chase away that child and his mother out of our place, Father Abraham. You know, look who's Father Abraham is a big, big man of God, close to the heart of God. And so Father Abraham chased his own son away.
Hey.
Ishmael gone. What was that? That's fatherlessness. So there he goes. So there he goes. So I was thinking to myself, you know, because I was preaching about this in the Northern Cape about Ishmael and Isaac. And you know, when the father died, both sons came and buried him, the Muslim and the Christian. You know, the one actually became Muslim and the other one became Christian. So they came and buried the father. So I also, with my own story, when I asked my father, who do you think you will bury you one day when you die? He said, no, you're going to bury me. I said, why? He said, no, you're the only one of my whole other children that came and look up for me. So there was a lot of us, Mr. Katide, that he fathered. So because of my inquisitiveness and everything, I was the one that buried him. And I buried him. We made peace. And, you know, we really made peace. I forgave him. And I said, you know, I want to move on. I want to love. I want my own life because I don't want to be controlled by somebody that's not there anymore. A lot of kids there are still controlled by people that they don't even met in their whole life.
So another thing, I mean, I know me and you are talking about fatherlessness from a male perspective because we are men. But another trend that's emerging or people coming out and disclosing is ladies not having a father figure in their lives. Now, my question to you is, how important is it to have a father figure in your life as a lady? That's the first question. Secondly, what is the role of a father? Not a man, not a boy, but a father in society. Because I believe one of the reasons society is so tirmekar is because we live in a fatherless society.
Yes. All right, the first one. In my book also, Growing Up Without a Father, is that girls needs affirmation. You'll see also when in a family home that girls are more closer to fathers and boys are more closer to mothers, if you have picked up.
My daughter is a problem. Yes. She always runs to me. I'm like, hey, no, you have a mother.
No, she's not. This is how it should be. Because in her eyes, you the superhero, you are everything, you are everything. So it means that if you look at the issue of the blessers and the blessees, most of these girls actually, because I've done a study, run to men because they want love. So the love that this blesser is giving this girl is money, sex, AIDS. Because if you read these books, most of them die because of AIDS, because this blesser will tell you, I want to sleep with you without a condom. So of how many girls are you sleeping without condoms? Daily. So a girl needs a father big time, because her blueprint, she will always say that I want a husband like my father. I want my husband to be like my father. If you are now a father that really are setting an example, but if you beat up your wife and you are abusive in a relationship, she's gonna marry somebody that's abusive and everything, just like you. So a father is needed in the life of a girl more than he's needed in the life of a boy. But both boys and girls need fathers. Then men in society, you know, I've looked one day, you know, when the leaders in our country passed on, Mandela went, Susulu went, those are the elders, ne? Susulu went, all of them went. And I said, but who is going to remain behind? You know, where are the elders for advice? You know,
no, we have Mbalula.
No, maybe it's the wrong.
No,
maybe it's the wrong example that I made. But really, the elders will sit. You know, there was a time when President Mbeki and Chris Hani wanted to be, I don't know which position was it, and the elders decided, Susulu Mandela, them, no. This is what's going to happen. It's like that father figure. Like when you go to a village and you consult with the king who's having wisdom. So we need men. We need men that will lead us. When the storms are there, we need sober people that will say, this is what we need to do. If I looked at gender-based violence and violence against women and children, Mr. Katide, I said, if we can raise 1 million men that will come up and say, us, we're going to decide now that all million of us are going to clean up the society. We're going to have one-on-ones with men and rich men at certain areas and said, for us, this is not the solution. If you're angry with your wife, beating is not the solution. This is not the solution, because we need to get to men and chat and have a one-on-one with men. Like you said, if I beat my wife, I cannot advise somebody to say, no, you can't beat your wife. And I know a lot of people will think that, Katide and Pietersen think they are better. No, we're not better. We're trying. We're working progress. We're trying to
no.
make... Yeah,
by virtue of making a difference, of actively seeking to make a difference in society, in our families, we are better. And that's a decision. When you... I don't like wishy-washy people. I don't like, people, this side they'll talk about, no to GBV. This side, they'll be telling their wife, F off, go. Yeah, you worthless. What? No. Be decisive. Be decisive about your life. If you say you're a born again Christian, be born again.
Yeah.
You understand? I don't like. And unfortunately, the reason I ask about men in society, so we don't have a lot of male role models. Now, in the society we live in, also, there's a development of, or the emergence of, strong female leaders. Now, how do we take the qualities, or how do we incorporate the strong female leaders into our society to work hand in hand with the strong male leaders in taking, our country forward? I am worried about my son. I've got 2 sons. I'm worried about my 2 sons, not because I'm a rubbish father, but I'm worried about what the world out there would teach them. They would look at Dr. Charley Pietersen and like, I love Dr. Charley Pietersen. He's written 2 books about this and that, and the next thing, Dr. Charley Pietersen clubs his wife. How does this work?
And gone is all, you're as good as your last game. This is a saying in life. That small mistake, I said, guys like us are trying to make a difference. We also need to have our running shoes next to us. When temptation comes, get into that running shoes and run. The other day, I was confronted with a situation with a boy that really misbehaved with my daughter. I said, I want to go for this guy. But that inner voice told me that, you go for him. No questions will be asked. They will just see that first landing on his face. So that will destroy you. One day, Mr. Kadile, in Bloom, I decided to go to town by foot. I said, no, I want to check, man. I used to go and take taxis and everything, but I just want to have that feeling, how it feels for somebody else to go from home to town, working and everything. So when somebody asks me, I can explain how it feels. So my cousin told me, said, don't make that mistake. are within 5 minutes, ne? Bo radio lesedi bo mang ne? But look, Charley Pietersen ke o tsamaya ka maoto o wele.
Or sahlanya.
Yeah, wahlanya or what? You see, my message to our leaders out there that are really in the forefront of things, if you are tempted, put your running shoes on and run, because you are as good as your last game. You know, one friend of mine told me one day and said, you know, your surname Katide is a big surname, ne? If you mess up, Chief, ne? No, listen,
you can't sneeze.
If you messed up, ne, the frontline newspaper gonna quote your father. They're gonna write in big, Dr. Katide in big, son in small. Ne? So they will take that whole page, they will talk about your father. Ne? Then there at the last, they said, and his naughty son beat his wife. So one paragraph of you.
And that's the thing. That's the thing, you know. I always say to my wife, one needs to always be vigilant. You know, I'm not saying you must be uptight. No, I do let my head down. You know, I spend time with, but you know, going clubbing.
Be vigilant.
You get stopped by cops at 2 o'clock in the morning. You're drunk. You are. What would happen the next day? And the message that you're trying to relay.
It's social media immediately there. You on Facebook. Not the next day.
So we try and I always say to my wife and my parents and everybody around me, I would rather be called stupid and boring and enjoy my time with my sons, because I have a lot to teach them. I have a lot to instill in them, you know. And the fact that my old man was always on the road preaching, whatnot. I mean, you know, there's 1 year where I calculated that he was not at home for over 300 days of the year. You understand? So I don't want that with my kids. They must be here. You understand?
Yeah.
And I don't get tired. Yeah, they must be here. And especially
you must
them.
Be there with them.
Yeah, I must be there, you know. The blessing of God upon my life means that I get to work from home. So even now they're playing outside. I can hear they're getting restless because they don't see me. But you know, that is the you know, a lot of people say, yeah, but you know, for me it's a blessing to spend time with your kids. And I applaud, no, not applaud. I thank God for people like you, Dr. Charley, because we are put in this world for a purpose, and that purpose is not everyone's journey. You know, people are concerned about making billions and millions. If God gives us millions and billions, amen.
He will give it to us. Amen. He will give it to us. Yeah. So let it be.
Let it be. We have a calling. We have a higher calling to change generations. You know, I'm not called to just swoon around as Katide's son. Katide preached the gospel, he evangelized. My job is to speak about social ills, and a fatherless society is a danger. We cannot fast and pray about it. We could as a secondary thing, but primarily me and you need to have this discussion, send it on social media, spread it out so that people know that, listen, if you are an absent father and you know where your children are, reconcile with your children.
Yes. And if it's tough, get help. Get help. Sorry, Katide. If it's tough, maybe they don't want you there, the parents, the in-laws, get some help, you know, get a social worker. Do something, because my thing with my father was, why didn't you make an effort to go and look for me? Because he was blaming my mother's brothers that they were bullying him. I said, no, man, hey, you were a coward. So to me, you are a coward father. I told him that you never stood up and said, oh, I'm going to look up for my child. So it means I'm talking on behalf of all my other brothers and sisters that you fathered. On behalf of them, you are a coward father.
Yeah.
Selfish.
You know, yeah. So fathers out there must reconcile with their children, whether it's and reconciliation does not necessarily mean you have a healthy relationship. Have some relationship. Start
Be
there.
present.
You know,
let them know where they come from. Let them know where they come from.
Yeah, because a lost generation, and this is one of the problems. So if me, Makawe Katide, don't know who I am, don't know who my father is, and I'm genuinely lost, and the chances of me, first of all, committing crime are very high. Because there's no my conscience does not tell me to stop, does not remind me who I am. Second thing is
research have proved it. It is like that, what you said. Yeah.
Second thing, I'm gonna be an abusive husband. I'm gonna clap my wife because I'm not answerable to anyone. I'm not saying but according to our culture, our collective culture, even when I'm 67 and my dad is 91, if he says to me, Makawe, you don't lay hands on your wife, I must listen. You understand?
Yes.
So if there's not that father figure, you do whatever you want.
And that's why you find serial killers and everything with no conscience, serial rapists and all those things. It's what you refer to. There's no conscience. There's no bulb switching on.
No, so fathers out there, our appeal is, you know what? We are not perfect. I'm the first person on earth to say I'm the least perfect father I know.
Me too.
I get angry, I snap, but then if I lose my cool with any of my sons, immediately after I will call them back and say, right,
I'm sorry,
Nana, this is not healthy. I'm sorry for shouting at you. Let's be friends. You're my friend, right? And that's how I want. I'm not saying we should not discipline them. We should.
You should.
But after a while, just say, let's not make this repetitive. Let's not this shouting and it's not healthy for us. Give them a hug and go on. But my plea, especially father from the church, is, guys, I know that it's difficult. It's difficult, especially living a righteous life as well. Some people, when they have problems, they just hit the bottle and get forget about. But church people, you
forget
can't,
about it for 5 minutes. Forget about it for 5 minutes and come back to it again.
You understand? So we need to do better. We need to do better. And I know that a lot of people would say, yeah, no, Christianity needs to be in the forefront of society. But how? If we don't have fathers? How? But anyway,
but the fathers are there. They must just step up, come to the front. No matter you are unemployed father, no matter they call you a useless man or what, be there for your children. Be there for yourself also.
Yeah, no, it will never end. It will, I always say, you need to be deliberate about your life. You can't be deliberate. Find your kids, find your father, find your mother.
Yes.
As well.
And
let's we need, the other day it was the day of reconciliation, and
Mm,
I sat there and I was thinking about the obviously the political reconciliation, and I
mm.
thought, what about the interpersonal reconciliation,
Reconciliation,
where you
yeah.
say, you know what, I'm at peace with you, let's
Mm.
make peace. But doctor, um,
So,
I'm aware that we're going over time, but yeah, you know, when conversations are flowing
mm.
easily, I so where can people get your book
My book.
or
I'm on
books, by the way?
I'm on
Yeah.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You know of the right spelling of my name, Charley Pietersen, and they can inbox me there. I'm always responding. I'm trying my best to respond on inboxes, and I'm trying my best. Like you said, we're not perfect. We are work in progress. But if we don't try and do something what the two of us are doing, the world will go backwards. So this is where they can find me, my brother. And there's also a website of our foundation. It's www.growingupwithoutatfather.org.za. So they can also contact me through my website.
Okay, no, that's good. So one of the things that I have in my heart is to
Mm,
see how
mm,
your foundation works with our foundation to do
mm,
something, for one of these in the townships and whatnot,
mm,
just to say, guys, listen, man, we are you, you are us. Let's
mm,
help each other, um,
mm,
grow. So, in closing, what
mm.
okay, I know GBV. I saw on your Facebook that you had an event that
Yes.
addresses gender-based violence. Now, what would you like to say to the people out there in terms of, eradicating gender-based violence and being proactive about
Mm,
um, addressing it? Because
mm.
it's when you look at stats, it's not getting better. It's getting
Uh-uh,
worse.
uh-uh.
So men are getting more angrier.
Yeah.
They're killing more. They're raping more. They're what would you like to say, sir?
Thank you, sir. I think the biggest problem that we are sitting is women that are keeping quiet until something heavy happened to them. So rather speak out now about all the beatings and everything. We had an event on Thursday where one lady stood up and said, "My son of 8 committed suicide because of our abuse of the father. He made a sandwich for himself and he ate rat poison because he couldn't take it." Let's not wait until something like that happens. Speak up. There's some institutions that can help you. Reach out, talk to someone before it's too late. And men, please, that is not the solution. You can see what the law is doing. You'll end up 30 years, 40 years in prison. And that time, the regrets and everything won't help. Stop, stop, stop. And to our friends on your WhatsApp group, your friend is beating up his wife. Don't keep him on your WhatsApp group. Talk to him. Man up and tell him that I don't want you on your WhatsApp group, on my WhatsApp group, because you don't want to stop with what you're doing. We have to name and shame each other. That's the only way, my brother, that we can help this thing works.
Yeah, no. We try. We try.
Yeah.
I name and shame. I speak. As a matter of fact,
Mm,
we as a couple
mm.
have cut off friends that
Yes.
perpetuate,
Yeah.
gender-based violence,
Mm.
that are perpetrators. We've cut them off.
Cut
They're
them off.
toxic.
Yeah.
They're toxic. We spend
Mm,
so much time in shock. Like,
mm,
do you heard how they spoke to each other? And
mm,
something as and this is where we need to be firm. So I'm
mm,
not saying couples should not have arguments,
mm. It's normal in every
but
couple.
but don't manhandle a person.
Mm-mm.
Don't verbally, when you get
Yeah.
you understand. Because
Yeah.
chances are you'll slap that person. You understand? Don't allow things to get to that point. And
Yes.
we see them happening. You'd go to a bride and then you
You
see somebody
speak
shouting
right.
at his wife, and then you keep quiet, you sit in a little corner, you gossip with your wife. No, no, no,
Mm.
no. That needs to stop. You must go,
Mm.
take the guy to the side and say,
Mm.
bro,
Mm.
I don't, I can see that there's conflict between you two,
Yeah.
but calm down. First of all,
Mm.
calm down. Are
Mm.
you in a position to tell me what's happening? If not,
Mm.
it's fine.
Get
But what
professional.
we saw, yeah, what we saw there is not good for you. It's not good for us because certain things reflect what. And one of the reasons I cut off a lot of my friends is
Mm.
because my wife looks at me like, is this your friend? Is this the friend that you've been telling me about you've been friends with this guy for 20 years and he
Yo,
does this?
and you kept quiet for 20 years. So
My bra.
you were condoning it for 20 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how serious this discussion is. So
Yeah.
we need to speak to our friends, our family members.
Yes.
Our sisters are going through hell. Abusive
Mm.
husbands, abusive boyfriends, and it's sad. It's sad when you speak. It's like ungena apho. I would rather that's all they say, ungena. I would
Yeah.
rather speak. I would rather speak, and if they
Mm.
continue, it's none of my. But the fact is, I would have
You've
said my
done
piece that
something.
what is happening.
Yes. You've done
Pardon?
something.
Yeah, what is happening is wrong. We must
Yes.
speak out, and
Yeah.
it starts with the little things. The little
Yeah.
things, the niggly things. They
Yes.
build up. They build up to a point where somebody gets seriously hurt.
Yeah.
Somebody dies
Mm.
because 5 years ago you saw
Mm.
something and you kept quiet. You understand? I would rather have enemies for speaking the truth.
Let it
But
be.
anyway, Dr. Charley
Thank you,
Pietersen,
sir.
what would you like to say in closing? Because I know that you probably want to take your kids out for lunch.
Yes, yeah, we're going somewhere. But I told them I'm having a very important appointment that I cannot
Very
miss.
important.
Very, very important. I think for our ladies out there, thank you for being with us, for tolerating us, and for helping us grow. And for the gents out there, come on, gents, man, there's some greatness in you. I know that. It's just for you, just to step up and do one good deed in life, change one life at a time. Look at that fatherless kid that is fatherless. Call him to your house, make him feel how does it feel, to be in a family structure, because it can only happen once. One experience can change the life of that boy forever or that girl forever. So my plea is that we are good people as South Africans. We just need to go back to the basics of Ubuntu, caring for one another. That's my message, my brother. And send my regards to your father. Tell him that I still need to have some coffee with the doctor.
You know what? I'm gonna organize it. I'm gonna organize
Please,
it.
please.
Yeah, no. I'm
Hey,
organized. But
let me
thank.
tell you, when I grow up, I used to say, if there's a brave pastor, then that is Dr. Katide. No, really, I used to like the man. There was a program on TV way back, I think, on SABC. I can't remember where he was also on. There was a program, I think. I can't remember, but he was that braveness, that openness. I liked him for his openness, where other people will
Do you know?
shy away.
Do you know how many people have come back to me and
Mm,
said, 10 years ago, me and my wife were divorced. Were
mm,
divorcing, as in like the court papers were,
mm.
and then we listened to your father's audio,
Mm.
and then here we are. 10 years
Phew,
later, we've got
phew.
6 kids. I'm like, yeah.
No.
And that's the thing. Sometimes for the message to be heard, you need to be, first of all, think outside of the box and push boundaries, you know. And this message that we're talking about, fatherlessness, the conventional church will not talk about it.
No,
but we are pushing boundaries, and
the heart
you know,
of the
hopefully
fathers must turn to the children. The hearts of the children must turn to the fathers. It's in the Bible, church. Start preaching that message. You'll see everything in your church will come right.
Yeah, and you know, we can't harbor bitterness. You know, can't harbor bitterness. But anyway, doctor, I have to rush. Thank you very much for your time. What we'll also do is we'll post on our socials where people can get your books. Kindly send us the prices, and yeah, sometime next year, hopefully we'll have a mini
nice
conference.
gathering. You said you in Tembisa, ne?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
nice Sangano there in Tembisa where we call some men around the table,
and talk men stuff.
Yeah, openly.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, my brother. Take care, man.
Bye-bye.
Adios. Thank you for watching at home, and yeah, see you next time.
Cheers.